Hello world of sim racing, and welcome guys to another episode of me talking to a camera. I hope you guys had a good week and I had pleasant people around you, because yes, Friday, weekend time. It's Michi's Esport Diaries time. And this time we don't have something specifically to talk about, so it's going to be exactly that kind of, let me quickly fix that real quick because it's going to sit in a bad spot right now. Okay, and it's going to be that kind of weekly report really that I plan to give to you guys. So actually last weekend I've been out of the office. I have been around here in the area with some professional photographer, and well, obviously some shots were taken, so yeah, in the near future you guys can expect new couple of pictures, new kind of profile banners, new kind of profile pictures all around. Things going to be a bit shaped up, so yeah, actually took the time to have a look into this, and yeah, I think things went quite well. We have also some little video clips for GIFs. So the stream is going to get a little bit of a new shape with, Michi moving in the picture twice when there is notifications, follows, subscriptions and so on. So yeah, that is what has happened last Saturday. Sunday, of course, not really a big deal. Then got into the streaming marathon, I want to call it. Monday with iRacing, Tuesday with the rFactor Tuesday on Traction GG. Wednesday, desperately trying to hold on to that B license in iRacing, and eventually on Thursday, so yesterday, we did hell of a loads of competition system racing on rFactor 2, and we're gonna base our report in those two things, like iRacing and rFactor 2. My personal thoughts on both sim in comparison. I get that asked considerably often on the stream, and then we're gonna in the end talk about a little bit of that rFactor 2 Formula Pro race on the competition system yesterday against Jene Simincic. Anyway, iRacing versus rFactor 2. It is a difficult one because one does not 100% know where to start with. Probably let's start with the positives of both simulations. Like, disclaimer, this is all subjective, what I think or what it feels, how it feels to me. Let's start with iRacing. So positive things in iRacing: mega easy to access, basic UI, even the beta UI is a bit modern but generally still basic, a high load and a different variety of cars. I consider it being a good thing that everything is being done by iRacing itself as an upside, whereas there's downsides on the other hand as well, of course. Rating system, general competition system, how quickly you can get into an online race. You just log on, have a list of, depending on your license, how many races you can do, and you just hop in and you just race. And it is quite, you have half an hour to sign up before. You can sign up while being on a server. You can actually sign up while being in the middle of the race if your clicky boy is good enough to manage it while going down the straight. Then fine, do it. Subscribe yourself to the next race. The general player count. One has to say the player count is a positive side of iRacing, because there is hardly any, apart from the very dead cars, race where nothing's going on, where no one is going in, where no one is racing. So I think that is the positive sides on iRacing. What else might be possible or a positive? Like, every competition race is really rewarding if it's good, whether that is safety rating, whether that is actual iRating. And of course, as frustrating it is when things go wrong, but still, you know, in every race you take something away from it. If you look on rFactor 2 in that regard, like when you do the random competition races, I mean, yeah, you get points counted and so on, but there is no ELO yet, there is no ranking yet, there is no play statistics yet. So, you know, all the statistic fanboys, guys like me actually, they are not being served too well on the rFactor 2 platform just yet. But I mean, at the current situation, it's still a unique selling point. So I'd say that is the upsides of iRacing compared to rFactor 2. Now, the upsides of rFactor 2 compared to iRacing, for me personally, is the physics model, the tire model, soon not anymore, but at the moment still rain. Then force feedback is a lot better on rFactor 2 compared to iRacing. Maybe I have not just found the right settings yet, but literally on rFactor 2, every car gives good feedback, gives, like, I have the idea what the car is doing. I can actually catch slides and feel what the car is exactly doing. Whereas in iRacing, if the car just goes, it feels like the steering wheel will turn left, 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 left if you're in that sideways movement. There is no feedback whatsoever. Most of the cars, to me personally, feel pretty dumb. So you always see me turning into a corner, then kind of checking, is it understeery, is it on point, is it oversteery? Yeah, it feels dumb, if you know what I mean. And that on rFactor 2 is just so great. I mean, we can always argue about the fact whether the drift slide cars, when you know you're sideways and you go full lock and full throttle and you still get the car straight again. But at the same time, you know, in iRacing, this is not actually possible. Like, you're doing a monster save if you have a tank slapper and kind of somehow keep it. That is probably considered to be a save of the century, kind of. So yeah, that is my opinion on that one, and more upsides on rFactor 2. I said that already. On the other side, iRacing, all is coming from one supplier. rFactor 2, it's an open world, it's an open system, everyone can mod stuff in, so that is obviously good in its own aspect. And other than that, I tend to say, and I know on iRacing there's lots of stuff either going on with third-party suppliers, or like the NASCAR Heat is their only major big thing. But for the amount of players and for the amount of and the diversity that iRacing gives you in terms of the racing, esports wise, it's kinda insufficient, I'd say. Not dead, because I mean there's lots of stuff going on whilst not being official, and I'm only talking like from the official iRacing point of view. Like, you know, the Porsche Esports Cup, of course it's on iRacing, but basically it's been brought to you by someone else, and you know, those things, they can be improved on iRacing. Now, the downsides on rFactor 2, the new UI sadly not being as good as hoped. The setups, or most of the cars being kinda, people tend to say broken. You can drift slide them, you have to drive them in a micro slide angle, so you have that distinctive driving style that people are deeming unrealistic, which I can agree with. Despite that though, a Formula Pro car, let's say, with a Goodyear tire, has done a major step forward. So that is one thing. Then on the other hand, in what I do like again on rFactor 2, a collidable pit box, like, you know, it just adds that element of realism. I mean, there's a bit of a joke, like calling iRacing the only real simulator and then have ghosting turned on in the pit road. Whereas on the other side, pit boxes is a constant issue on rFactor 2 for the very same reason. But still, I would call it an upside, because if it's managed all right, it makes perfect sense, and then it is good. Further downsides on rFactor 2, low player count, sadly. I wish that would be up so much. The competition system has been in beta condition for a good year now. So we would like to see the next step, and I know there's so many stuff going on, like rFactor 2 and Studio 397 as a whole is a lot smaller than iRacing and the entire company behind that. So the change now with Motorsport Games is buying Studio 397 will hopefully be seen in the near future in 2022. And that is, well, let's see what the future brings, really. It could be really up and down. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's more chances rather than being anxious. Of course, it can be risky. Of course, things can go in a very different way no one would have ever expected, but we don't think it will. We hope it won't. So yeah, that is the downsides of rFactor 2. Maybe inconsistency, the general bugs. Yeah, there are tons of bugs and there are tons of issues in the game, and they are not getting fixed, or they are getting fixed in very long time periods, or even new bugs are coming up. So yeah, we all hope and push forward that Studio 397 and Motorsport Games takes rFactor 2 on the next level. But yeah, we will see what comes out of this. We will see what is the plan for 2022. Let's see what happens on that side. And then I want to come to the downsides of rFactor 2, of iRacing compared to rFactor 2, which is that track cutting or incident point system. It annoys me so much. The X's, the slowdowns, the inconsistency. Like, you know, for example, Hungaroring. And some turns you can completely mount the car on the AstroTurf with the inside tires on the exit curb or beyond that, and it's no cut. And then in other occasions, if you put just half the car on the curb with some tires into the grass, you get an X or even a slowdown. Like, why? Le Mans, the same thing. You can really hard grind the curbs in many spots, but then in other spots you can't grind them at all. Like, it's so inconsistent. And then obviously X is punishing you for that safety rating, and then I don't know, like, you know, you touch a car, the other car goes off, you get 4x. Like 4x for nothing at times. It's just, I don't know. Those 4x really trigger me so often because they are so painful. And then let's get, I think, to my most to the most annoying part is the netcode. I keep laughing about those fanboys that are coming over to say, oh, rFactor 2 is just bad and boring and worse and whatnot. The worst thing is the netcode on iRacing. It's so bad. And I don't know, like, I don't know why, like, it's been there for years now. Sometimes I think it's even going to be worse. And then the damage model, I mean, you can come with a point of realism now, that when you have a touch in the Formula car, that something's broken, something's bent. But that one race that we did on Monday, I believe, where I got spun round, and then netcode, my front wing was net coded, yeah. And my car was then 1.5 seconds off the pace. And there's nothing you can do. When you go to the pit road to fix it, you have 4 minutes repairs or whatever. So, I don't know, the damage model, the netcode, it just doesn't make it enjoyable at all to race. And then obviously some people that just dive it in, throw it in. And you know, when you're trying to be there for safety rating or whatnot, like, you just literally start from pit road, stay dead last, invest your iRating into safety rating, and then later on you can use up your safety rating to invest into iRating. And you keep doing that for 4 months, and in the end you actually end up where you've started. Worst case. Or even worse. Yeah, so I think that is the differences. For me personally, I mean, you guys know that I'm physics-wise and driving-wise an rFactor 2 guy. In that esport area I'm good. Would I be good in iRacing? I doubt it. I have my severe issues with the driving style, yet as you've seen in the past weeks, I'm trying to get that done. Yeah, and of course another upside as a streamer is obviously iRacing is very, very popular. So it's great for growing the channel, it's great for getting interaction, it's great for getting content as well. Because as frustrating as stuff is, or is bad, as such, so good it is at the other times. Because it creates a lot of clips, it creates a lot of sceneries. I mean, I know I've been out there, I was considered a meme and so on, but fair. I was bad, I'm still bad, I'm average at best maybe over there, so that's fine, I can deal with that. I know I don't have 8 or 9k iRating or whatnot, and probably will never have, but we will see. Still long years to go. So yeah, at the end of the day, of course, as soon as rFactor 2 esports are starting again, the iRacing interaction or the iRacing action will scale down on my end, of course. Again, it's just a natural thing. But so far, we try to enjoy. So far, we're doing goodie. Well, we try to enjoy. I'm not sure if I'm really doing good, but Wednesday has been considerably good. Apart from that one race that got horrible wrong in the Formula 3, I think we had very much good racing going on there. So I'll take that. And Wednesday was actually a day where I enjoyed iRacing to a certain extent again, and I was like, okay, really satisfied I did that. I'm really satisfied I tried and so on. So yeah, that is the thing. That is what has happened in this week. What brought me to the point of comparing those both systems against each other for me personally. Next up, competition system rFactor 2. This week we have a very interesting competition system coming up, or actually has started, of course. We have the Formula FT60 at various tracks, all free content, 10 races in 12 or 13 days. Well, 10 different tracks in 13 different days, every 30 minutes a race. That's good fun. And you can really easily finish a race, join another one, finish a race, join another one. There's enough time this time to get the tracks, like, you know, to get swapped to the other session, which is really, really great. And then we have the Puma. Sadly, I haven't had the chance to drive the Puma yesterday, but that looks like a good fun car as well. The Formula Pro at Spa, 4 races a day. Interesting. Like, yes, this car is properly hard to drive. We've done a setup guide on it. I will upload the setup guide actually tomorrow or on Sunday. I will actually upload both setup guides on Saturday and on Sunday, so that they are available to you on the system itself, on YouTube again, like, you know, just as a single sole video. So in case you've missed last night's stream, you don't need to scroll back the 5 hours and find your setup. So I will put them down in I will put them up into the chat, not into the chat, onto the video YouTube channel as a video on demand, and you can pick them. So that was, of course, the Formula Pro race, so we're going to talk about it in a short while, and then the Corvette race around Sebring. The Corvette race has been pretty fun and boring at the same time. So yeah, sadly, there were a lot of issues with the rFactor 2 competition system, especially around the Formula Pro car. The servers seemed being hicking up. So besides the car that is ultimately hard to drive, we also dealt a little bit with setup issues on that note. I hope they be fixed. I've sent in the trace log. Jimmy Ellison was watching, who was taking care of the servers over there on rFactor too, of the competition servers. Disclaimer: I also got some weight penalties and some drive-through penalties in between, just for some funny moments on the stream. So live stewarding is actually possible. That is something to be on the plus side for rFactor 2, by the way. Yeah, so that is what happened yesterday. And let's talk a little bit more about that thrilling, well, it was a 1v1 against teammate Jene Simoncic actually, on Spa and the Formula Pro. So here's the thing, and this is kind of like how an esports team is working. So a little bit of an insight coming up. You guys know that, oh, well, I guess you know, that the first race in Spa, despite my 8th place in the qualifying, I then effed up on the start, has been pretty much a disaster in terms of strategy, but mainly in terms of raw pace. The setup has just been bad, let's face it. On that day, I think we finished 12 and 15th, or 12 and 16th, or 13 and what? It was outside top 10, and it was not the kind of performance that we expect from ourselves. Let's put it like this. I remember that evening, like the race was done, event was done like 21:45 CET, and we debriefed until 2:30 AM in the morning. We were checking top speeds, we were checking cornering speeds of everyone, of ourselves, of like literally so many things, and we've seen differences that we kind of like, we were, what? Are you serious what we're just seeing? And that was alarming, and that actually got us to the point where we're like, okay, whatever we had for Spa, just scrap it, throw it over. And yeah, I mean, it was a good step forward we did for race 2, still not 100% where we wanted to be. Race 3 and 4 have been really, really good. Was it 4 and 5? 4 and 5. 4 and 5. Like P2 and P4 in Indianapolis in the rain was outstandingly good. At the end of the year, we somehow got in 3rd still. We made work what we wanted to do. We actually achieved our minimum target somehow still. After round 2, I was really concerned that we not even make it close to top 3. But we kept digging, we kept pushing, so everything was fine. And yesterday was a perfect example. Like, we say, okay, we need to do more debrief, we need to have a more task force, we need to understand where are we lacking the 2 or 3 tenths to Team Redline and Mercedes. And, well, how shall I say, we actually got things together, we actually had a look, we were trying different things. Now, I have not tried anything beforehand, but I know that Jene had worked the entire Thursday and parts on Wednesday on the car together with engineers trying to fix it. So yesterday you've seen that we have run different setups in the race, different strategies in the race. I don't want to say that Jene has been 100% fiddled in with the car. I don't believe he was, because he was surprisingly slow in the opening stages of the race. Remember me stupido, I underfueled the car with a setup I just built. And Jene was on a one-stop strategy anyway, so he was always planning to box. He was considerably slow in between though. And I'm not sure whether he was saving tires, saving fuel or whatnot, or just trying as quick as he needed to. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what his actual plan was. We still need to do a debrief on that, because right after the race we had else stuff to do, so we haven't had that. There's something that's hopefully happening on the weekend that is just around the corner. Yes. and then I hopefully be able to understand. I mean, the good thing is I ran on something I came up with in 40 minutes. He ran on something that engineers and him have come around, like, yes, a different approach to what we knew, within, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 hours of work. I have no idea. I need to talk to him about it. I was surprised actually to see him in the competition race, but that was very interesting because, as you know, I've just beat him into the line in the very last lap, just kind of managed the tires. I was down to 28%, and yes, I can say that publicly because everyone on the stream has seen anyway, which was obviously a bonus for you guys. Usually I don't do that, but since the setup was just, you know, a few clicky things, and disclaimer, it did not contain the high-end knowledge of what we have done in the Formula Pro season throughout the year. So that in itself has been interesting for me personally, because I was like, okay, how can be a 40-minute setup just be good enough to keep up with Jerne, I want to say. I don't want to actually say that I've beaten him, because I think he could have performed better. I could have done that maybe too, especially on the fuel strategy. I could have performed better. But anyway, the nice and good thing is we can take away shed load of data from it. So we have a setup of Jerne that works in some areas, then we have a setup of mine that works in other areas, and now we can actually merge the two. Look at the files, look at the motex, look at the setups itself, see if his setup is maybe too abrasive on the tires, maybe mine is too, maybe mine is just great to the tires, maybe it was just the driving. But as close and as entertaining the race may have been for you, despite it was just like a me versus Jerne kind of thing, but I think those 45 minutes was 100% focus, 100% suspense at all times, compared to the other stream that we did on the GTE. That was literally boring after 5 minutes. So there is not only entertainment out for you, there's also a shed load of data available to us now. And we're going to analyze it, we're going to put it down, we're not going to share the results, of course. But yeah, that is what an esports team is taken away from such an event, as surprisingly and as spontaneously it was. But he has used 45 minutes to find stuff out. I then have had 45 minutes to see how good was my setup. And in the end, we just need to turn and put our heads together, and talk about it, review it, check it, find conclusions. And that's what we're going to do. And hopefully we can then close the gap to Team Redline and Mercedes. So, speaking of Mercedes, F1 is this weekend, guys. I hope you have a great one. I hope you have pleasant people around you. And have a good time, everyone. Have a nice weekend. See you there. Goodbye.